think once you're a commissioner, you're always commissioner for life, so Commissioner Legg. You know, your story, I think, touched a lot of people in many ways because in one way or another, whether or not being a provider, as many of you are, or if you're just a family member, you've been there in that moment where you're having that conversation with someone who is dealing with either a very serious illness or approaching the end of life, and how you struggle to figure out how to meet that person's needs is a significant challenge for, I think, all of us, regardless of our expertise and training at that moment in time. But you in your professional career have worked on a lot of different issues related to the many different cultures of New Jersey. And I'm interested if you can speak a little bit about how we're going to manage this tool, which is a one-size-fits-all tool, to meeting the needs of a very diverse community. You worked with the South Asian Total Health Initiative in your professional career. You've worked at the Department of Health, so you understand the various challenges that we have relative to making tools widely accessible to the very different communities, both spiritually, culturally, and in terms of life experience. And so I'm wondering if you could comment a little bit about that.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Commissioner. I think it's extremely critical, especially for a state like ours, where we are the third most diverse state. We speak over 100 different languages. 30% of the population speaks a language other than English as their first language. And so to be able to overcome those cultural barriers becomes critical. And it's something that you know, in terms of the way I think, no one can ever be culturally competent. You can only be culturally sensitive. So how do you become sensitive to someone else's cultural beliefs and personal beliefs becomes critical. And so this is a starting point. The POLST is a starting point to start that dialogue, but there's a lot more that has to be done underneath it. At the VA, for instance, I was looking at some data recently. They give out advance directives to every vet that comes into the system, but only in 30% of instances do they get anything back. And this is a system that's been developing one of the best models of advanced care planning since 2002. So it's taken us over 10 years, and we still see that the outcomes are not what they should be. So similarly, you have a starting point, but it's going to be very important to do those gap analyses, do those focus groups, understand what the key belief systems are within each of the various ethnic populations, and understand what some of those barriers are, and how do we talk that talk? We can't talk our talk and expect them to understand it. How do you talk that talk? And at the same time, at the end of the day, our goal is the same, is to have quality of life no matter what stage a person's in, including end of life. So I think there's going to be a lot of stuff that we're going to have to do as public-private partnerships to take this on to the next level.
Thank you.